And your latest video showing the state of the pools was quite heart-wrenching, and the Rivalries thing.
I didn't know things were as bad as they are. But I'm going to say something that may take you aback a bit, but I'll explain it. My job is to convince DA voters to vote. That's my job. Every party needs to do the same with their voters.
You're convincing DA voters to vote, or you convince everyone to vote, even if they don't vote for the DA?
It's not my job to get the EFF voters to vote. It's not my job. Okay, so you can.
Are you not part of the FedEx anymore?
No.
You are out completely. You have no. Helen Zille has no say.
I'm out
in the DA now.
It's been a new era for a very long time.
Let's talk about the migration quickly.
People, if they want to be in South Africa, must be here legally.
Yes.
If they're here legally, the DA protects their rights.
Yeah.
And we don't believe in attacking people because they come from other places but have the right to be here through legal processes. If people are not here legally, they must either go through the process and be legalized. Yeah. And sometimes the process is the problem because it is slow and cumbersome. But Leon Schreiber is fixing that. But people need to know that if they're
He's been quiet on this Malawian mass meeting that's in Tabane. And
I saw that, but it was only last night. So for goodness sake, how you say he's been quiet. That happened overnight.
2 nights, not last night.
No, it was last night.
Your mayor is the 5th of November, and March says these people must go now.
Look, I will first of all show you Schedule 4 and 5 of the Constitution. We have no control over international migration at local level.
Yeah. It's Frank Dialogue Podcast with me on Khopotse JJ Tabane, and my guest today is Helen Zille. She's the mayoral candidate of the city of Johannesburg, and she's been very busy really pointing out what is going wrong in the city, and of course sharing of her vision of how to fix it. So we thought, let's have a dialogue with her for her to share of her vision, and to also just get a sense of how she's seeing the campaign going so far. But of course, I've invited a couple of friends of Frank Dialogue to assist me to understand her today. And in the room we have Professor Dirk Kotze from UNISA, Professor Padilo Hota, former Statistician General, Mr. Aidole Kota, who's former political editor in the Sowetan as well, as Professor Tefo Lisiba, also from the University of South Africa. Gentlemen, welcome and thank you. Helen, thank you for always being willing to talk to us.
I always am. I think dialogue makes South Africa.
Absolutely. I mean, we need to talk. I mean, but we also need to act. And I think that's really where the nub of the issue is, where we need that balance. How has it been, Helen? I mean, you've been extremely busy. I can see that the other candidates panting to catch up with you.
Well, normally when people are busy, it keeps them out of mischief, but my busyness gets me into mischief.
Yeah, of course, you sort of breaking down the gates, people refusing you to get into, and your latest video showing the state of the pools was quite heart-wrenching, and the Rivalries thing. What in your view has surprised you in your journey as you try to understand what needs to be fixed in the city?
What has surprised me is the state of the brokenness. I didn't know things were as bad as they are. You go to the inner city and there's some parts that are really lovely. Like if you walk from Gandhi Square to the Magistrates Court down Main Street, that's really lovely.
You mean like at the EFF headquarters?
I have
Did you walk there? Did you?
I walk all over the place. I walk all over the place. And I went to Davey Street in the CBD near to where I used to work in Moy Street.
Yeah.
And that's also very beautiful. And they've all redone that for student accommodation. And there's lots of security. And it's a private sector run little space of Joburg.
Yeah.
And it looks lovely. And it gave me the vision of what we could do for the whole of Joburg.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, your campaign seems to be ahead, from and the poll seems to put you at roughly about maybe 40 or just under there. Polls are polls. We sometimes we believe them, sometimes it's not necessary. But the trend since 2016 show us that it doesn't look like any party is going to get an outright majority, right? 2016, and that pattern repeated in 2021. And of course, if you look at national, if you were to add that, it showed 2024 that eventually you are talking coalition politics. In the city, it has been particularly bad. You are at mayor number, God knows what, 9 or something.
10 in 10 years.
You understand? That's unsustainable, right? It because it's coming across as a pattern. It doesn't seem like people are discouraged by it because they keep voting the same way in terms of this pattern. So let's assume the pattern continues, right? How are you going to handle the issue of coalition politics as Helen Zille, with your strong personality, with your your I don't want to say set in your ways way of doing things, right? Can you just give us a sense of that? And the reason I'm asking that, Helen, is that people sometimes are worried that the people you are criticizing and you are telling them how terrible they are and so on, you end up in a coalition with them. In 2016, you end up in a coalition with the EFF. In Twan, you ended up in the coalition with Action SA. Now you are in a coalition with the ANC. Please just take them out of their misery on that.
Well, there are about 5 questions in your little introduction there, but I want to challenge your assumption. Coalitions are not inevitable in Joburg. We've done a very clear calculation based on turnout modelling, based on the brilliant statisticians that we have in the DA around electoral issues who do polling every day. And they've told me that if we get 490, that's 490,000 voters in DA to come out and vote DA on both ballots, we will get 136 seats out of 270, which is 50% plus 1. So it's possible to do that. There are definitely 490,000 people out there who do support the DA. So our big challenge is to get them registered and to get them out to vote. That's the big challenge. So I don't think coalitions are inevitable. But voters get what they vote for. Now, in 2016, I was very, very opposed to the agreement with the EFF. The DA said it wasn't a coalition, but effectively it was. And Julius was very clever because he didn't take any positions in the actual government. He just used his leverage outside to get the positions that he wanted inside the administration, and then to get the tenders and contracts that he wanted through. And it's shocking to read how Julius became the tail that wagged the dog between 2016 and 2019. I mean, Paulie van Wyk's book and Micah Reddy's book, they did the book together on Malema's money and his power and politics and patronage and all of those things, shows you exactly how it happened. It's a shocking read.
Yeah, but the issue is, you're challenging my assumption. Is I'm just looking at the trends, right? And if you back the trends, that's fine. But let's assume you don't, right? Can people say, or let me put it this way: who do you rule out completely as somebody who you won't coalesce with?
Well, I won't do a coalition with the EFF. You can be sure of that, because they don't share a single value that we do. We're a non-racial democratic party that believes that we grow the economy and get people into jobs through primarily market mechanisms, with a social safety net, of course. But the EFF believes that the leader should control the party should control the state, and the state should control the economy and society. And that is totalitarianism, and we haven't got any touch points with that kind of political philosophy.
But all the others are fair game. Can you still coalesce with Mashaba?
That it's not about a fair game. We're trying to go for an overall majority. I realize that it's going to be a hell of a job, because people often don't come out and vote. If all our supporters come out and vote, we'll make it. We'll make it. But the trouble is that not everybody does, because they've always got some kind of reason not to, which I'm trying to debunk. But when you've fought an election, afterwards, if you didn't get to 50%, you look at all the options and you decide if there is any way to get to 50%. And sometimes there are different ways to get to 50%, and you take the least bad option.
But because I want to play this tape after the 4th, right? So do you rule out PA?
Look, let me tell you that the PA reminds me of the mafia in the early 20th century in America. They are broadly, not everyone, but broadly crooks who know that the big capital flows are in government. They got into politics because Jacob Zuma needed to have a party that would break colored people's support for the DA. And we must actually understand who they are, and they've shown us who they are.
Yeah.
And I've done a bit of a deep dive into the transport and roads portfolio in Johannesburg, and what you see there makes your hair stand on end. So, we've got to know that they are in government to make money, and it's very difficult to align our political philosophy about being in government with theirs.
Okay, that's clear enough. Rice Mzansi, Lukwana Mugunis entered the phrase. He says you're not a nice person to coalesce with. No, that's what he said, really.
I know he said that. He hasn't ever met me, you see, so that's what makes me laugh. No, I don't recall meeting him. It couldn't have been
you're not a nice person. And then Herman Mashaba said you're a terrible person. So Action SA and Rice, because those could be the ones that have the few percent that could add to your poll 40-something.
Yeah, I think that Herman has got a conspiracy theory in his mind that bears no relation to reality. And I don't recall meeting Lukona Mnguni, but I might have someplace because I meet a lot of people. But he's ruled out a coalition with us. He says that he'll do a coalition with the DA if they bring anybody other than me. So he's basically telling the DA, we're a tiny little party, but we'll tell you who to put up as your mayoral candidate. So he says he'll do a coalition with anyone if it's not me.
Yeah.
And then he's saying he doesn't want anything to do with the ANC. So he says vote the Amasela out. He's going after the thieves.
Yes.
And so
I'm sure you support that.
Oh, I do support that. But he's basically saying he can't do a coalition with anybody. So you should be asking that question to him.
No, don't worry. He'll come. But the issue is you are painting yourself in, as I can see, in a corner where you must just win outright, really.
No, we're not.
All the other things that looks like it's going to be too much trouble.
No, we're not. No, we're not. We are obviously always in an election to win it.
Yeah.
You don't talk about losing an election before you go into an election.
Sure.
What I'm saying is that if we have to do a coalition,
yeah,
we'll look at the options and we'll take the least bad one.
Okay.
And if there's no least bad one, if they're all ghastly, then we'll go into opposition.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Are you in it to serve, Helen, or should you not be mayor? Would you be happy to sit on the opposition benches in the city?
Well, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of experience of being in government, and I've got a lot of experience about turning around ANC governments that are a wreck. Cape Town was never as much of a wreck as Joburg is, and nor was the Western Cape government. They still had a core of public servants who understood that their job was to honestly and with integrity implement the policies and the plans of the government that won the election.
Yeah.
Now, Joburg is very different from that. It's got a captured state completely. And it's riddled with corruption. When I tell you that the corruption is syndicated in Joburg, you better believe me, because I'm seeing things that make my hair stand on end.
Yeah.
So you must understand this, JJ. I have a husband and 2 sons and grandchildren, and they're all in Cape Town. I've left them, including my husband, to come here to Joburg because this is the town when I was born. I'm coming home. I was born here, I was raised here, I was educated here, I got my first 3 jobs here. So I feel very passionate about Joburg. I feel more passionate about South Africa. And I know that unless we can get the Gauteng metros working, South Africa is going to fail. So my whole life's mission since I was 16 years old is to get South Africa to work. It's been my whole life's mission. And this seems to be the next step for me.
Yeah.
So no one needs to test my commitment to the job. No one needs to test my commitment to the job or to Johannesburg. The commitment that's on trial now is whether the voters have enough commitment to save Joburg. That's actually what the question is.
But we are saying you are prepared, instead of just going into a terrible coalition, you are prepared to be on the opposition benches.
Yes.
Or, right, if I ask a clear question, should you not be the mayor, would you then withdraw from the whole project and go back to Cape Town?
Well, if there was a chance that there could be a realignment shortly afterwards, because these coalitions are very unstable, and if they're not going to be able to last, and I could see that there's a chance of realignment, I would stay.
Yeah.
But if there's absolutely no chance, then I'm going to say, listen, I gave it my best shot. Joburg had the option. Joburg turned it down. Now they must deal with it.
Yeah. It seems like the ANC and yourselves could be toe-to-toe. right? Again, another assumption. Please don't hang me on it, right? People are worried about the fact that the DA seems to have changed its tune on the Pala issue, right? In other words, you took a very hard line before the elections, and after the elections, you then said, and I tried to quote you on this, right? More accurately, that you won't impeach a president you have voted for, right?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. If you listen to the whole clip and you don't cut it off halfway, which I know the journalists always do, if you listen to the whole quote, we say that I say that we won't impeach a president we have just voted for, except if there is evidence of serious wrongdoing.
Are you telling me that at the point you are saying that you didn't think there was anything wrong that he had done? If you just look at on the surface, dollars are found in your place. You have not declared those dollars. Before you go to the complications of them being investigated wrongly by the VIP security, just that basic thing of saying a citizen is allowed to keep X number of dollars in their possession up to a particular point. Right? Well, I want you to just let me know what at this point made you change your mind.
No one's changed their mind. No one's changed their mind. We said that at the beginning, and we still say it now. Jordan has said quite clearly that if there's evidence of serious wrongdoing that emerges through the impeachment investigation, we will not protect the president.
Moment you think that there's not enough evidence to make you take a decision either way?
We're a party of the rule of law. Yeah. And we like to go through processes through which people are either found guilty or not guilty. Yeah. And there are many situations that you can judge superficially, as you're saying now you're judging this. Yeah. But the truth turns out to be very different, as you know, as a journalist. The truth is often very different from what it appears. Yeah. So let's get to the truth through proper processes. Yeah. And then if there's serious wrongdoing, we will not protect the president.
You're a partner in government with Ramaphosa. Would you suggest that he should maybe resign to not have a situation where the dirty linen of your government, because you are now partners in government, is dragged through the whole public arena?
The DA doesn't have dirty linen. When we do wrong, we confront it. The point is, we're not the ANC's keeper. Yeah. We may be in a coalition government with them at the moment at national level, but we're an independent party. Yeah. We stand up to them, we criticize them, we fight with them. But let me also say that I have no control over these decisions anymore. Yeah. I'm not elected to the leadership of this party. I'm not on any leadership structure.
I saw that coming, but we're talking historically because...
Yeah, no, that's why I answered your question. Historically, but don't talk to me about the future. It's not my decision. Okay, so you can
Are you not part of the FedEx anymore?
No.
You're
out
all. Completely.
I'm out.
Helen Zille has no say.
I'm out.
In the DA now.
No, they're Puma. I'm out.
This is a new era, man. But let's talk quickly about...
Vuka Maulele. It's been a new era for a very long time.
Let's talk about the migration quickly before I give my colleagues a chance to ask you. As mayor of Joburg, where there's huge migration, both internally and externally, would you support a tougher stance, right, or that includes mass deportation? And I want just a quick answer on that, given what's happening in the country.
You always like a yes or no answer, but most things are a little bit more complicated. You know what the essayist Mencken said? He said, to every complex problem, there's a solution that is clear, simple, and wrong. Okay. So there are no very simple answers to these highly complex questions. Okay. So now, people, if they want to be in South Africa, must be here legally. Yes. If they're here legally, the DA protects their rights, and we don't believe in attacking people because they come from other places but have the right to be here through legal processes. If people are not here legally, they must either go through the process and be legalized, and sometimes the process is the problem because it is slow and cumbersome, but Leon Schreiber is fixing that. But people need to know that if they're
been quiet on this Malawian mass meeting that's in Tabane. And
I saw that, but it was only last night. So for goodness sake, how you say he's been quiet? That happened overnight. No, it was last night. So the point is, the simple point is this: those mass meeting of Malawians, they want to go home, but they want someone to pay for them to go home. And they want South Africa to pay for them to go home, or they want their government to pay for them to go home. And that's got to be sorted out, obviously.
So in Joburg, how are you going to do? Let's get to the Joburg part. Your mayor is the 5th of November, and March says these people must go now.
Look, I will first of all show you Schedule 4 and 5 of the Constitution. We have no control over international migration at local level. But if March wants to say people must go now, then I will say there are processes. Let's go through the processes, just like I've said to you about finding people guilty. Let's go through the processes, but please don't create a space wherein violence can flourish. We're very opposed to violence. Yes.
You've met them?
Yes.
How was the meeting?
It was cordial. It was direct. They told me their position. I told them the DA's position. And they came across much more reasonable than I expected.
More interesting.
They also said to me they oppose the violence.
And
they say that, and the risk is that they create a space in which xenophobes and violent people can
fester.
That is the problem.
All right. Thank you, Helen. We'll come. I just want to ask you a little bit about the unions, but I'll do that at the end. Let's give to Professor Kotze. Professor Kotze?
Thanks very much. And Ms. Helen Zille, thank you for being with us. I think your introduction and what you've explained raises for me one point which affects all political parties. And in terms of the opinion polls and that has been done by the HSRC and others, focuses very much on public trust and trust in political institutions, starting with Parliament, the members of the President, the Cabinet, members of Parliament, but not only at national level, also at provincial level, and it affects even the IEC and all parties. So you talk about, in terms of the results here in Johannesburg, that you have to mobilize a lot of people who are not necessarily actively engaged in politics. So how are you going to address the matter of public trust in politicians and politics in general? So it's not about necessarily specific policies, but rather that people start to trust the institutions that will be part of this election.
Helen?
Yes, well, if people don't trust the institutions, it is largely because of the representatives that the voters voted for and what they've done with those institutions. And most voters across South Africa know, and the President also knows, that where the DA governs, we govern better and we govern for all, and life gets better for all, especially the poor. And that is how to rebuild trust in public institutions. The DA has a track record of not stealing money, of not abusing power, of trying to invest most money in infrastructure where poor people live in order to give them a better quality of life. And that is how you grow trust in institutions, by proper government. And how do you get proper government? By voters voting for people who won't steal their money and won't abuse power. So voters can say, well, we don't trust the institutions, but I have to be very honest with them. You don't trust the institutions because of what the people that you voted for did to those institutions. And that's the answer.
May I just take it slightly further? One of the big issues about Johannesburg, but I guess most metros, is their financial situation. That there's lack of payment by the consumers, the users of water, electricity, and other services, as well as the fact that there are many people who are coming in who are through urbanization that simply cannot afford it. Now, in terms of the way in which the national budget, which is nationalized or centralized, is allocated to the three spheres of government, is very unequal when it comes to local government. As far as I could see that it is for local authorities in general, it's between 8 and 12% of the total budget or the total revenue goes to local authorities. So even if everyone is paying what they are consuming, it's still too little or it's not enough. So how are you going to turn around the financial situation of Johannesburg, plus address, I would say, the fiscal structural inequality that does exist? irrespective of whether it's Johannesburg or Cape Town or Tabane or any other of them?
Right. Well, the first thing to understand is that somehow, strangely, where the DA governs, the finances are managed well. And in Cape Town, for example, without borrowing money, they've got 40 billion rand, a record over the next 3 years to put into infrastructure, 75% of which will go into poor communities. So, local government has its own tax base through rates and service charges. The biggest problem in Joburg is not its rates base, it's the level of corruption in Joburg. And it's the extent to which the money is stolen and misappropriated in Joburg. And the extent to which there are middlemen put into almost every contract so that someone can fleece a huge amount of money out. I mean, when I look at the cost of some of the services and the cost Joburg is paying and the middlemen who slice off the difference, when I look at the money laundering that is happening in the Johannesburg property company, that is where the problem lies. There's also a massive problem in the billing system, and the failure to digitize the billing system is a very significant thing. And often the failure to digitize is also to serve corruption, because when a system is digitized, you have a password that follows you whatever you do on that system, and your entries can be traced. If you're running the budget of Joburg on a spreadsheet, then you can always rub it out and change this and put an extra zero on an account and switch the meter numbers and everything that happens here in Joburg, and you're going to get blatant corruption. Then you have the situation where a lot of people don't pay and they claim that they don't have the services, and then in many places there's been a tradition of not paying at all since the beginning of democracy, which has been difficult to regularize. And if there are no services, then people say, well, why should we pay? So it becomes a vicious circle. Now, you've got to ask why, where the DA governs, there isn't that. There is a clear distinction, right? And that distinction is the way a place is governed, which in turn depends on the way the voters voted.
Okay, Prof, you're happy. All right, before I just move on there, Helen, are you going to get rid of municipal entities?
No.
You won't get rid of. You see their salaries. I think it was
got nothing to do with the salaries, my friend. Yeah. The salaries are outrageous.
They're outrageous.
But that doesn't mean to say you get rid of municipal entities.
But you'll cut the salaries.
I've got to do things within the law, JJ.
They're earning 3 times more than the president.
I know, it's mad. And 6 times more than the mayor, or 12 times more than the mayor.
Yeah.
I know, it's insane. Look, it's insane. Yeah. That's part of the corruption, JJ. It's part of what I'm talking about. The one guy, I think it was in the Joburg property company, voted himself a 60% salary increase. Yeah. Now, what do you think that is, if it's not corruption?
Yeah. It's interesting because the DA, and please correct me if I'm wrong, they did not make too much of a protest of the similar situation with the Secretary of Parliament whose salary was increased in 2 minutes to 5 million.
Were you living under a rock, JJ? Go and look. Go and do a little Google search and see how much we protested against that.
You protested, but you are in government with the same people who don't think there's anything wrong with it.
We don't take that decision. You've got to be in a position where you take the decision. If people want us to take the decision, we've got to get more than 22% of the vote. Ask Dr. Lehotla. He will tell you about statistics. You can't take decisions on your own unless enough people vote for you. And when 50% plus one of the people vote for us, we'll deal with those issues.
You don't protesting enough on it, but anyway, that's
How do you mean we're not protesting enough on it? Go and look at what we did. What did you do?
Why did you? No, I mean shouting, but I mean I'm outside government. I'm not in government.
You're
you know? Yeah, but anyway, that's fine. Mokadi from Sunday World, thank you so much for joining us. Your turn to ask Gogo Helen a few tough questions there.
Thank you for having me. A few questions I'd like to ask Mrs. Zille, yes. What plans do you have for the youth once you become the mayor of the city of Joburg? The youth is facing a lot of unemployment.
Well, the way you create jobs in a city is by governing properly. In Cape Town, between 2021 and 2025, they created 400,000 new jobs. 400,000 new jobs. In Joburg, they went backwards by, I think, about 139,000. Now, why? The difference is that many businesses are moving to Cape Town because they can rely on water, they can rely on electricity, they can rely on safe roads to drive on without potholes, they have public transport that their workers can get to work on. All of these things function. And when things function, people have confidence in the future of a place. And then they invest there, and then they grow jobs there. That is why so many businesses from Joburg are moving to Midvaal. It's DA governed, and they're creating lots of jobs there. And in Cape Town particularly, international tourism is creating lots and lots and lots of jobs there. But they wouldn't be doing it if the place didn't work. So you start by fixing government. That is always the best starting point for the youth. And when government works and people invest, then there's growth in jobs. Now, obviously, education is a critical thing, but local government doesn't have any control of education. We have to get basic services working. And then, apart from education, there's this terrible, terrible scourge of drug addiction. Now, let me just tell the youth right now that if they're going to be addicted to drugs, no government can save them. No government can save them. And unless we break that addiction, which is terrible. I mean, the Afrikaners have a word for it, verslaaf, and that is what it is. You become a slave, and when you're a slave, you can never get anywhere. So those three things would help enormously.
Helen, people are angry with your government in 2016 when you cut off all the Wi-Fi, and young people used to use it to get jobs and so on.
Who cut the Wi-Fi? Who cut the Wi-Fi?
Mashaba was your mayor.
I don't answer for Mashaba.
But no. But you was DA mayor, Helen. Come on.
Just speak to Mashaba and see if he listens to anything.
Oh no, you're throwing him under the bus now.
Me throwing him under the bus? That's rich. That is rich.
Okay. Prof. Bali?
No, thank you very much. Let me start from a banter we had in Cape Town when I was releasing the census results in 2011. There was your quip. Said, we are the fastest growing province in terms of population numbers, but we service them the best. That was the question to me as a statistician. I don't answer those questions, but it was true.
It was true. There
Yes.
you go. Thank you very much. The fastest growing metro, and we service the poor the best. Absolutely.
It was true. The numbers are there to prove
Thank
that.
you, Dr. Lehohla.
But now you are coming to Gauteng. They have growing Gauteng together. They put the strategy out, which I believe in, and you come and govern Gauteng. You have a national treasury that I don't think will support or doesn't support or hasn't shown any support to that, which is what Makura tried to do as a province. And therein lies the problem of a national government that doesn't seem to be prepared to deal with that issue. How are you going to survive as a metro? I don't know whether you have seen this.
Look, I do know about the financial crisis of Joburg. First of all, let me thank you very much for acknowledging that I was right when I said that, because now even the former statistician general has acknowledged that where the DA governs, we govern better for the poor. Thank you very much. And that is very important because it happens to be true. Okay, so I think the national government has done quite a lot about Joburg, and there's a lot more they are going to do if they get an honest government. Now, the first point that I want to make is that it's not for the national government to fix local government in a democracy. In a democracy, it's for the voters to fix the sphere of government that is failing. So you can't have the national government saying, we're going to put you under administration until you come right. No, the courts have decided that when things go wrong, unless they go so dramatically wrong, as they are in Joburg, I have to admit, that you don't get services anymore, then the national government has no role to play, and the voters have to take the action, which is right in a democracy. So this is Joburg's last chance, I believe, and the voters need to wake up.
Well, let me have a second bite at this.
Yeah.
And you have answered that question, but I've been doing a metadata analysis on what the HSRC had done at the level of sample survey. But I've done a metadata analysis of 200 households.
A meter reader analysis.
Metadata analysis.
Metadata.
Which is basically
Metadata.
200 households across the country,
Yeah.
clusters of 200 households. And in 66% of the country, democracy has collapsed. And that democracy collapsing is because of unemployment levels, which is the labor disappearance index. And in Gauteng, the Sandton just across is Alex. In Alex, democracy has collapsed. So has the labor disappearance index, which shows 66%. Sandton just across, democracy has not collapsed. So is the labor disappearance index. It's very low. How are you going to fix those contradictions? Just a step across.
Dr. Lehotla,
Yeah.
I've spent more time in Alex in this election campaign than in any other part of Joburg except Soweto. And I would like to know what measure you use to say democracy has collapsed in Alex. What yardstick, what are the criteria that you use to draw that conclusion?
Well, I mean, where the labor disappearance index, which is unemployment and all the wrong things or bad things are happening, that's where you get democracy having collapsed.
But why do you say
that's
it's
where
collapsed?
But on what criteria? Do you think they will never vote against the ANC in Alex?
Everybody is withholding their vote. 66% of them say, well, democracy doesn't work. And you are only having 34%, which will go and probably vote. And if you have only 34% voting, then you are actually going to have a warlord kind of situation.
You don't necessarily, not at all.
How are you going to deal with exchange of favors? Because that's what minority vote grants the politicians. So as Socrates says, the merchant politician trades the electorate, turning them into currency as well as merchandise. How are you going to deal with that?
Okay, let me tell you this, that there are different ways of voting in an election. You can vote for any party or you can choose not to vote. And I say to many people, a no vote is definitely a vote. It's a vote for the status quo. So that's definitely the situation. But if we go into an election where lots of people choose not to vote, and the people who do vote choose a new government because they understand that that is within their power to do, and that new government is honest and tries to deliver services and tries to fix things and takes the city in the right direction, then you can renew trust and optimism in the political process. If things carry on like they're doing now, people won't bother to vote. And that's why I say it's Joburg's last chance to save democracy, actually, because they have to use their vote to change their government to fix the city. It's as simple as that.
Thank you very much. And unfortunately, the country, only 34% of the population says democracy still works. 66% say it doesn't, and they are going to withhold their vote.
Well, that doesn't mean to say that they're right. I mean, if we get into government, we can prove the opposite, that democracy does work. And the critical thing about democracy is not getting power. It's actually holding power to account. And the way people hold a failing government to account is to hold them to account through their vote. That's the accountability mechanism. Not a toy, not a complaint, that is the accountability mechanism. And the vast majority of people who are now disillusioned have never used their power, have never used their accountability
I want
mechanism.
to monopolize the stage a bit because, one
Off you
of
go,
the
Dr.
things...
Lehotla.
Because the last follow-up.
Yes, that is it.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you. But how do you convince people to vote when things have collapsed? I mean, I'm making this point very deliberately because through this process, I'm talking about the metadata analysis. I wish I could activate, and I can use it to activate consciousness in society. Because I agree that people should go and vote. But they cannot go and vote unless their consciousness is activated to the level to which they can hold. democracy to
100%.
account.
And all political parties have a duty to do that. But I'm going to say something that may take you aback a bit, but I'll explain it. My job is to convince DA voters to vote. That's my job. And I'm doing it every day and all the time in every single community. And that's, I think, what we will try and achieve and succeed at. Every party needs to do the same with their voters.
Yeah. You're convincing DA voters to vote, or you convince everyone to vote, even if they don't vote for the DA?
It's not my job to get the EFF voters to vote. It's not my job. I'm not going to do Julius Malema's work for him.
But don't you want new voters? Shouldn't you be winning people from this other
Well, if
parties?
they're DA voters, of course they must come and vote. And we're winning lots and lots and lots of voters from those other parties.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't mind if everybody votes.
Yeah.
Of course, this is a democracy.
Yeah.
But my job in that democracy is to get DA voters to vote.
All right. Aido?
Madam Zille, when former statistician,
Please put your
when the
microphone
former
in.
statistician said that you're doing good work, especially for the poor, you looked very quite, sharp.
Of course, because that's what we're trying to do, despite all the propaganda from everybody else.
And last year there was an article in the Cape Times
Oh my God, yeah, that.
talking about, and actually it was after your social media comment where you said the city of Cape Town is doing so much for the poor than they are even doing for maybe what's the upmarket suburb of
Camps Bay.
Camps Bay, right? Do you still maintain?
Absolutely, 100%.
Well,
The city puts hardly any money into the upmarket suburbs and pours resources into poor areas. Yes.
Well, the 24-25, the city made that statement, and then they actually gave the figures by saying they had a budget of 12 billion, and 75% of that budget will be spent in the poor areas.
40 billion over 3 years. Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, that the problem with that is that it conflates the maximization of budget with maximum equity outcomes. I'll give you an example. If, for example, that let's say that budget of 12 billion, 75% of it goes, which is 9 billion, benefits families in poor areas, right? And then the 3 billion benefits, let's say, Camps Bay.
No, there's many more suburbs.
No,
But there
I'm
you go.
giving you an example.
Yeah.
Yes, it's benefiting upmarket suburbs, right? But the reality is that the poor areas have got higher population. So if you break it down, for example, you'll find that it doesn't address equity. It doesn't address equity. So the maximization of budget size doesn't always guarantee maximum equity outcomes. So this thing of saying we spend 75% in that area, and then we're spending 30% in the upmarket, but there it's a higher population. You see, so it doesn't address the issue of equity to access equity to resources.
Yeah. Sorry, before you answer, is that from statistically, is he right?
Look here, you don't work out when you are putting a sewerage system in,
Yeah.
or when you are replacing water pipes,
Yeah.
how much every individual is going to
gonna
benefit.
get, yeah.
The entire population will get water if we put thick enough water pipes
Yeah.
and sewerage pipes and put proper sewage systems and grey water systems in.
Yeah.
If we put enough electricity reticulation in, if we put enough landfill in, the local government's job is not to hand out money equally to everybody. It's to get the systems working equally for everybody. And that is what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
In Joburg, well, let me just explain this. In Cape Town, they're building the first sky circle in the world, meant only for public transport. The bus rapid transit system is working well. There's a wonderful new transport interchange in Khayelitsha, and it also works very well from the other side. The far other side is Atlantis. And poor people now have access to an affordable, wonderful bus system, safe, clean, free Wi-Fi, everything that runs. And now to get people to work even quicker, they're building what they call a sky circle, just for public transport, and is the only one in the world that is going to be built. They're spending 8 billion rand on that sky circle to take people over the intersection so they don't stand there for hours in the queues, take them right over and get them to town quicker, right? That one project is more money than the entire Joburg capital budget. That one. And Joburg's got a capital budget of 8 billion. They only spent 4 billion on it. 8 billion is pathetic in a city like Joburg, and they only spent 4. What happened to the rest? Probably stolen. Now, in the last 15 years, the capital budget has, in real terms, halved. And the operational budget, which is the consumption budget, has tripled. That's what we're talking about. So don't take the one city that is pouring resources into poor areas, building sky circles, getting people to work on time, giving free public transport to work seekers, and say that we're not seeking equity. What's happened to Joburg? 8 billion pathetic rand out of 97 billion meant for capital infrastructure. How's that equitable?
But that still doesn't address the equity outcomes. It still doesn't.
You misunderstand entirely budgeting at local level, Ido. I'm sorry. You misunderstand it completely. The purpose is, has everybody got access to dignified sewerage? Has everybody got access to clean and fresh water? Has everybody got access to refuse removal? In many of our informal settlements, they do 2 to 3 refuse removals per week. In the suburbs, 1 per week. I'm telling you now, go and look at the systems. I've taken professors who always said, no, the DA is not. I'd walk them round the shack settlements in Cape Town. I say, is the local state working or is it not? It's not like we're giving out money to every individual. We're saying, do your systems work? That's the critical thing.
Okay.
Eish.
Professor Lesiba.
All right.
All these professors here. The professors must come to the real world now and again.
Gogo Zille and I agreed, JJ,
Okay.
that after the interview we are going to swim.
Oh, all right.
But she did not disclose the
Are you
location.
going to swim in Cape Town or in Joburg?
She didn't disclose the
We're
location,
going to,
but
we're
I'm
going to
inviting
swim in Innerdale.
I'm inviting the panelists to join us.
All right.
All right, thank you. If you live in a society where government or public service pays more than private or corporate, that society is doomed. I heard one of my colleagues mention the high salaries, and I'm one of those who said it yesterday, and I can repeat. The salaries our public officials get, politicians and civil servants, are outrageous.
Ridiculous.
Consistent. If you compare those with others in other parts of the world, most of which I'm familiar, where even vice chancellors go to work on bicycles, ministers go to work on trains, shame on us. Right. Now, I only have 2 points for Gogo Zille. One relates to migration. The second one relates to the Electoral Act. Let me start with the Electoral Act. It's about how to get the people to go and vote for what, and through which mechanism. I think 2002, for Van Zyl Slabbert, the instigation of the DA, and Adakada Asmal, it was decided this Electoral Act is not the one that we said it was going to be permanent.
Yeah.
And then the recommendation were made. The report is there, is still standing. My question to her, had we implemented the recommendations of Van Zyl Slabbert, would we be in this sort of state we find ourselves as a country? Would it not make it better for her if she becomes a mayor or whoever, if the people were to elect their own rather than a political party?
Well, Van Zyl Slabbert recommended a dual system of direct constituency elections as well as proportional elections, because we've got to keep the proportional system. And it would have made a difference if people had decided to change their vote. If the majority kept on voting for the same party, it wouldn't have made much of a difference. That's the answer.
Yeah, it would have made a difference. That's my position. I'm firm on that one. And for whatever reason, either the ANC and other parties don't seem to be keen to go that route. The latest one, Vali Musa, chaired a committee again looking at the Electoral Act. It made recommendations similar to, right, Van Sales Labert. It's not so much about you. I'm just taking advantage of this platform so that those who are listening.
We're very much in favor of that reform, and we always have been.
But what do you guys, sorry, what do you think, Prof? Because actually, the voter seems to have rejected that system by not voting for a single independent in the 2024 national election, including those who are very popular, like
yeah, but who are they? What drives them to come in as independent? Public service is about the other and not the self. It's about public spiritedness.
This fellow from the TAC,
yes, I grant him that. That is the one.
He's a great activist. Yes. He didn't get a single seat.
No, he didn't get a seat, but at least his performance was respectable. Make no mistake about that. And certainly, if I was closer to him, he would have even gotten my vote. That said, let me go to the question of migration.
Right.
Let me go to the question of migration.
Yeah.
Two things that South Africa didn't do. The 1998 Refugees Act. And by far, more than 90% of the countries in the world that are signatories to the Geneva Convention of 1951 have done that. One, first country of safety first. You cannot leave Bangladesh and end up here in South Africa. You can't leave Ethiopia and pass 10 countries to arrive here. Everybody took count of that. First country of safety. The second point, at the bottom of the convention is under exceptional circumstances. Under exceptional circumstances, a country can deny you asylum or refugee status without disclosing the reasons. Had South Africa did what the majority of the world have done, would we find ourselves in this controversial and sorry state? I know it's not so much about your position as a mayor, but I know you also have an influence that we can take advantage of and influence things so that we transcend this sorry state of our country.
Well, we support the first safe country idea. We always have. And in fact, it is currently in the white paper that the Minister of Home Affairs has put out. So the first safe country is a universal policy, and we support it. That's number one. Number two, I believe usually in transparency, but let's say in an extreme case, if somebody you know is an ISIS operative, and the security clearance, for example, I'm just making a hypothetical example, would come out and say, you can't give this person refugee status because he is an undercover ISIS agent, but we can't make it known that we know that now because it would jeopardize our investigations into the ISIS cells operating in our country. If that were to happen, it would be completely legitimate not to give the reason. And now I'm using that as an example. It's a hypothetical example.
Yeah, okay.
Just one.
I do quick follow-up.
Yeah. Madam Zim, let's say you are the mayor. What will be 90-day actions that you would implement and implement them while making sure that it doesn't have a burden the taxpayer?
Just give us top three because we don't have time.
Well, the first thing we have to do is get an adjustment budget, because that's what you have to do in December, to redirect 10% of the resources of the budget to new projects. And I will do that to maintenance of water and electricity infrastructure.
Yeah.
Next thing I will do is I will ring fence the budgets for water and electricity and not sweep them out of those accounts, so that we have some resources with which to maintain that infrastructure. And the third thing I would do is get some forensic audits going and bring in the Auditor General, not the Statistician General. Bring in the Auditor General. And the Auditor General would go through things and tell me where the bodies are buried, and I would get some forensic audits going.
Since you're talking budgets largely, because it looks like if you fix that, then the rest can be fixed. How are you going to deal with the workers, right? The unions have now been through the bargaining forum. They've gotten an increase that the Minister of Finance himself says Joburg can afford it. What are you
And the Minister of Finance said it's an unlawful agreement. It's an illegal and unlawful agreement. That's what he said.
Yeah. So how are you going to deal with the unions? Because the unions believe that the workers are underpaid, right? If the workers were listening to you, would they have a better time under your mayorship or worse?
Well, they certainly will have a better time under my mayorship because I will communicate, I will be there, I will get efficiency, I will get fairness in the system.
Yeah.
But I agree with the Prof that the salaries earned by the CEOs of the entities are insane. But not the politicians. I mean, I didn't want to become the mayor of Joburg. I searched everywhere for candidates and I found some. And then they saw what the salary of the Joburg mayor is and they said, is this what a Joburg mayor gets paid? And I said, yes. And they said, are you mad? I can't even pay my house bond on that, let alone put my children in university with that.
Yeah.
So what mayors and politicians earn is not outrageous, especially when you are in a situation of having 6 million people and a collapsed system and you have to turn that around. I only stood eventually because we have to get this job done and there aren't many people who are keen to do it, especially not for the salary that's on offer. So I think it's, so I would definitely take big steps around the entities to get them staffed by real experts and to get the boards filled with real expertise and to get managers who absolutely understand things. I mean, there's one water engineer.
Have you met the unions on this issue of dispute of their hike that you said is
not
illegal?
formally, but informally.
Informally?
Yes, that's one-on-ones.
Oh,
but let me just say that it's not. I don't say it's illegal. The minister says it's illegal. So let's just leave it there. I mean, we will make sure that we don't only have one water engineer on the whole board of Joburg Water. I mean, that's just insane, And a 29-year-old head of the Johannesburg Development Agency who's found with 2 million rand in the original SA Reserve Bank covers. Not even taken out of those covers, which means he could only have got that from a cash in transit heist.
Crazy.
Probably to fund the ANC's election campaign. Who knows? But the truth is that these corrupt crooks are running the system. And then the magistrate goes and drops the case.
All right.
Madlanga Commission for them.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna ask quickly your prediction. What do you think Helen will make it as mayor? I just want something I can play after the 4th. Mohadi, come on.
I think that for me, I'm going to speak as best I can as a representative for the youth.
Who elected you? Who elected you to speak for the youth?
As best I can if they will.
Only represent yourself. No, it's very important. People only speak for themselves until they're elected.
I'll speak for myself.
Good.
And say that for me as a person who's voting and is going to vote this year, I feel there's a little bit of a disconnect between the DA and the youth from my perspective. Because I feel as though, especially through what Helen has said today, her ideal model for what you've said of how Johannesburg should be run is it should emulate what is happening in Cape Town. Am I right or wrong?
It should be run properly, honestly, and invest in the poor. Mm-hmm. And that gives the youth especially the biggest chance of getting jobs.
But you see, I think there's a lack in understanding from that, because you say that you guys prioritize helping the poor and helping governance and fixing all of that and making it better. But there's not a lot of talk about how you're going to make the unemployment for the youth better and how you're going to enact that. Because yes, you can create more jobs and everything, but the doors are still not opening for us in any way, shape, or form. Like I have my honors degree from the UNISA in politics, and I did my undergraduate degree in UCT in Cape Town. And I don't feel like it's made anything easier for me. Especially, I've always been someone who has voted. I'm very into politics. My undergrad is in politics. My honors is in politics. But I don't think there's a relationship between, I'm going to speak just for the DA, and you guys actually doing something about unemployment for us. Because it's all good and well to say that you'll create more jobs.
Just give one word for the youth.
Okay. No, for everybody. Because, first of all, you have got no control group. You don't know what your options would have been if you didn't have a degree. They are much, much better with a degree. I can tell you that. You can ask Dr. Lehotla. All the statistics will tell you that. So that's the first thing. You can't go by your subjective feeling. Go by the objective facts. That's number one. Number two, Cape Town, and I'm using it again because I govern there and we set a train in motion that is continuing today. In Cape Town, unemployment is 19% today. It is still far too high. Yeah. But it is moving in the right direction. In Joburg, it is 32 to 35%.
Sure.
So in Cape Town, we have almost halved absolute poverty. And that profoundly influences the youth. So good governance makes a difference to young people. It makes a difference to all people. But if you want a job, there's only one way to get it. Start by electing a competent, good government that creates confidence in the future of the place.
Prof, of course, you got the last word. What's your prediction in terms of the outcomes of the elections in Joburg?
Unfortunately, I think it's still going to be a coalition.
Okay.
I don't know. I think the unknown factor is who are going to be the members of the coalition, and there it is going to be about actually who's going to be negotiating the best, who's first out of the blocks after the election, who has already some understanding of working together, and I think. Just the last point. I think the obstacle for the DA is still that the reality and the perceptions are not matched. You know, I was at your federal Congress, for example. What we saw there and many people saw there is very different from what is the public perception about the DA. So ultimately, it's a lot about communication.
Yes, I'd love to answer that question because the journalists are largely responsible for the misperception of the DA. They come out of humanities faculties at universities filled with critical race theory. Everything is seen through a race lens, through no other lens. When you see what the DA is at our Congress, you see a very different picture. But they will never paint that picture. They will always turn around and use the political argument of the bankrupt, which is race. They never look at policy. They never look at progress. They never look at outcomes. Just race. And when you see what we look like and the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of delegates that we had there who are all committed to being seen as individuals rather than envoys of a racial group, you see what the DA is. You see, the only people that ever say anything about politicians are their enemies, and then the media report that. You know, they don't even know you. They haven't ever worked with you. For example, people say we can't run a coalition. I ran a 7-party coalition in Cape Town when we first won there, and it lasted, and it worked. And I mean, you know, nobody ever says, well, you look at the ANC's top 6, totally untransformed. What are we going to do about that? You know, no one ever says that. There's a massive double standard in relation to the DA.
All right, we need part 2 clearly, Helen, because you gotta be moving now.
What's part 2? Part 2 of what?
We'll need part 2 of this because that we are starting a completely new conversation for which we don't have.
No, I'm answering the question about perceptions and reality.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that requires an entire seminar.
Good, let's go.
Yeah. Helen, thank you. Okay. All right. And all the best with your campaign. And thank you once again for talking to us and our listeners here at Sunday World and Frank Dialogue podcast.
Great.
Last one. If you were to give the GNU, because it's 2 years now.
Let's not talk about the GNU.
Mark it out of 100 quickly for me.
Let me not talk about the GNU. I'm talking about Joburg. And I want to say to the voters of Joburg, this is your last chance to fix the city. Make the right choice.
But they may think a GNU is a good example of what may come. So how do you mark it? Just mark it out of 100.
National government is fundamentally different from local government.
Okay.
The places where I ran a coalition, I would give it 8 out of 10 in Cape Town.
But GNU give it how much?
Look, You've got to look at the individual portfolios. I'd give some very high marks, I'd give some very low marks.
Yeah, okay. Helen, thank you.
Things are not always as simple as they seem.
Keep well, eh? Right. That was Frank Dialogue Podcast with Helen Zille. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as we did. But until we talk frankly again, may God bless you.